3, 2.
I want to call the Board of Aldermen meeting to order for the City of Warrenton on February 10, 2014. Would everyone stand and face the flag for a pledge of allegiance? Alderman Clark, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the regular board meeting minutes on January 21, 2014. Is there any corrections, changes, or additions? Entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Clark to approve the regular board meeting minutes from January 21, 2014. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
I wasn't here.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0 with one abstention. At this time, on item 4, hearing from the public, if anybody would like to address the board, we ask that you come forward and give us your name and state your business, and we'll give you 5 minutes to see what you got to say. I think we have no one wants to talk to us tonight, so we'll extend that same courtesy to the Board of Aldermen. Let's start off with Mr. Clark on your end.
I have nothing.
Alderman Ock?
Nothing.
Alderman Casterly?
Yes, John and I had the opportunity, I guess it's been 2 Saturdays ago, right after one of the major storms we had, to meet with some of our local real estate agents. They were concerned about some of the sign ordinances and some of the fees they've been getting. We had a really good meeting, and I'd like to propose that in March we have a work session to discuss the never-ending subject about signs, particularly the size of signs and the length that signs can be kept up on a temporary basis.
Is that it? The realtors know we just redid that sign
Yes.
ordinance, and how many of them attended that meeting?
I know, and we've discussed
That's all
that.
I'm saying.
We discussed that.
Alderman Cornell?
I have nothing.
Alderman Flake?
Well, I'd just like to say, with all the winter storms and the snow that we're having, I just think we need to thank the city crews for keeping the streets in good shape. I haven't got any phone calls, so that means that everything's in good shape.
I agree 100%. They did a great job. Alderman Dreyer? Nothing? The mayor gets the same opportunity, and he always has something to say, it seems like. So, first thing I want to mention, we talked about our problem with our city staff, our extreme weather conditions, and I know the board kicked around and said we didn't want them sleeping on floors anymore. We were going to provide some lodging for them. Got a lot of comments back from the public, some good, some bad, some didn't think we should be spending taxpayers' dollars for hotel rooms. The fire chief, Mike Ownby, kind of stepped up and said, hey, we got beds available, we got showers available, you all are welcome to use them. I think we're working on an agreement. I know Councilor Gravel was supposed to get an agreement prepared for us to sign with the fire department and so forth. So I just want to thank the fire chief for stepping up and solving a problem for us. So, and in fact, I think we used that the last snowstorm, did we?
Yes.
We had 1 or 2 people use it?
And Mayor, there is a draft agreement. Mr. Gravel has drafted it. I've sent it to Mike Owenby for their review.
Okay.
And comment, should there be any changes or things that they want to add. And then hopefully that'll be ready for the next board meeting.
Good.
For your approval.
I knew he was working on that. My other note here is on the municipal elections coming up in April. We really have one contested race. Ron Jurgismeyer and Tony Hawley is the only contested race for the Board of Aldermen. I think, Jim, no one's contesting your seat. Alderman Flake's not going to run, and I think Eric Schluter, no one's contesting his seat. So just share that with the public. The other thing I wanted to mention to you that we have, and the board probably is aware of all this, we have two major sidewalk projects coming up in the next fiscal year. One of them is the South 47 sidewalk that goes from Warrior Ridge down to Dry Fork Crossing. That one's fully funded. I assume that's a go, and we're going to get that one done with no problem. The other sidewalk issue we have is over on Pinckney Street, where the high school entrance starts, and we want to run a sidewalk all the way to Warrior Ridge. And the trouble is, the engineering cost on that, and the sidewalk is about $100,500, I think, or 800 maybe. We don't have enough money in our budget to fund that 100%. So we've asked the school to see if they would want to cost share that and participate. Gave all the information to the school superintendent, and they're going to review it and get back to us, and hopefully between the two entities we can put something together and get both those projects done. So I just want to share that with the board and the public. The other thing I wanted to share with the board, I have two letters of resignation. I'll read the first one to you. It's from resignation from the IDA board. Mike Wright is the one that submitted it. It says, "Dear Mayor Dyer, as you know, recently I was appointed to the judicial bench in Warren County. Since then, there have been some questions and concerns whether I may continue to serve on the IDA board. After looking into the matter, including contact with the Judicial Commission, I have determined I must resign from the board. Therefore, please consider this letter my formal resignation from the IDA board effective immediately. If you need any further, please advise. It has been a pleasure to serve, and I wish you and the board and the city all the best." So anyway, we need if you know someone that is interested in serving on the IDA board, I'd appreciate hearing from you. The other one is the Planning and Zoning Board from Mike Kendall. Says, with much regret, I, Mike R. Kendall, resigned my position from the Warrenton Planning and Zoning Boards as of February 11, 2014. My current work schedule does not allow me to attend the meetings. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Planning and Zoning Board. The schedule permitting, I would be interested in serving again in the future. So both of those, if someone knows somebody with some interest, I would appreciate hearing from them. And that's all I have. And I'm ready to move on to item number 7, introduction of Kurt Smith. Now, I'm going to let Chief Howdyshell do that.
Absolutely, Kurt, if you'd stand. Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, it's my pleasure to introduce you all to our new police officer, Kurt Smith.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Welcome
Thank you very
aboard.
much. I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be here.
I think you've had the opportunity to meet all the board members before.
Except for Mr. Blake, yes.
Okay, there you go.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
All right. Okay, item number 8, approval of IDA real estate purchase agreement. We're going to get my machine to load here. Any comments or concerns on that? Terry, are you addressing that?
I certainly can if you'd like.
Yeah, would you please?
Sure. We have been having discussions now for quite some time, and as was recommended by the state auditor, that the formal ownership of the IDA property over across from the school on Pinckney, that the actual ownership be taken over by the city of Warrenton formally. You have 2 documents on for this evening. The first is the purchase agreement, which has been approved by the IDA board already. It formally turns over the ownership of the property to the city of Warrenton. You also have a secondary agreement, which is the assumption agreement with Missouri Bank. There is currently a loan with Missouri Bank for the property. The balance is $424,019.40 on that property after the January payment was made. And the second document, the assumption, has been approved by the Missouri Bank, and it needs your approval so that the city of Warrenton can formally take over and assume that loan.
Are we addressing both of these in ordinance form?
Yes, there are ordinance, is that correct, Melody? There's an ordinance for both
So we don't.
later on this
We
evening.
don't need to vote on any action on this now? Okay.
Just for,
Go ahead.
for my clarification and for the public's information, this $424,000 loan that we are assuming, we're not taking on anything new. We are already on the hook for that. We're making the payments on that loan already, correct?
We have been making those payments for the last 4 years.
Okay.
And that was one of the criticisms from the state auditors, or why is the city making that payment when you technically don't own the property? The property's or was in the name of the IGA, so
Right.
we're just really wanting to clean up
Right.
the issue.
I don't want the public to think that we are making a new purchase for $424,000 of.
Or assuming new loans?
Correct.
Okay, good point. Any other question on on what we're doing on the IGA property? If not, we're going to move on. Is there any amended agenda items?
No, sir.
I'm already down to Terry Thorne, Director of Operations, Finance Officer.
My first item for you this evening is a request for approval to purchase a 2014 Dodge Ram Grand Caravan. This is a replacement for the green van that we've had for quite some time now. That van is now turned over to Animal Control. Their van, which was exactly like it, has died, and so we've gone on and given them the van that was being used for travel, for training and that kind of thing, just for general city staff. The bids finally came out on the state bid, and it actually is $20,801, and the state bidder is Capital Chrysler Jeep Dodge in Jefferson City. We have $21,000 budgeted for this purchase.
Can we clear that rumor up that this really is not the mayor's car?
This is not the mayor's car.
Not the mayor's car.
I'm sorry, I'll stop saying that.
Yeah.
You're going to stop that
The
right
mayor's
now?
certainly welcome to
Yeah.
use it to go to any
I
training or
could
travel.
borrow it from time to
But
time.
it's,
Okay, I do need a motion to approve that bid.
I make a motion that we buy the 2014 Dodge Caravan for $20,801.
Second.
Are we getting delivery? Because that
we are
adds.
going to go pick it up.
Okay.
Motion on the floor by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Cornell to approve the purchase of a 2014 Dodge Ram Grand Caravan from Capital Chrysler Jeep Dodge in Jefferson City in the amount of $20,801. Was that a state bid?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
My next item for you is a request to schedule a work session. During the planning session that you all attended, we talked about the possibility of providing comp time for department heads and salaried staff who work so many hours over what they're paid, and you all agreed to that. Well, when I came back and talked to the city attorney about it, he has some serious reservations about doing comp time the way that we talked about doing. He feels like there's a better way to do that, and that the comp time situation itself lends to a lot of legal problems, possibly at some point in the future. So his request is to do it as a work session so he can explain to you what his issues are with the comp time, and to do that prior to the next meeting.
And that was kind of our discussion. We can get that done in an hour and a half or an hour.
I don't see any reason not.
What's the board think about 5:30 before our next regular board meeting? Is that something that you'd consider, or you want to do it on a special night? And the thing you need to remember, if you do it on another night, we might have trouble getting our city councilor to coordinate with his other job. So my recommendation would be at 5:30 on the night of the next board meeting.
Which is the 18th.
Mhm.
I may be able to make that.
May, you're good? Alderman Dreyer?
I'm not sure if I can get here, but, I mean, that's probably the
Okay.
best thing.
Alderman Casterly?
I'm available assuming traffic allows it.
Allows it. Alderman Ock?
Same thing as Alderman Casserly.
I know Alderman Clark can be there. He's retired. He's retired.
Retired.
Let's move in that direction.
Okay. All right, and then next I have an update for you on the bond issue for the sewer improvements. At your desk tonight, you should have a little brochure that looks like this. This is my cut and paste mock-up, so this is not what it will look like when it's done in a professional manner. But I wanted you to be able to see a sample in case you felt like that we needed to add some different questions or provide more information. We met with Joy Howard, our financial advisor, who has advised many different bond issues with municipalities and been able to get those approved successfully. She brought us some samples of brochures that have been used and different things that other cities have used who have successfully educated the public. This one was the simplest, most easily understandable format, we felt like, of what she had. It would end up being a double-sided brochure like this. The picture on the front would be a color picture. It's very green. It was taken in the summer, so it makes these things stand out a lot more. This is actually a picture of the wastewater treatment facility. So it would be a color picture on the front, but I wanted you really to have an opportunity to look at the language, make sure you agreed with what the questions and answers are and the information provided.
She missed the biggest marketing point. She buried in it that it's a no tax increase bond. I think that should be on the front.
Absolutely.
So it says something like, proposal $15 million, no tax increase water and sewer bond, big bold letters in the front. Because
We can do
people
that.
won't, sometimes people don't open envelopes, they just throw it away, but if it says it very predominantly, we'll pick up on it.
The plan would be that it would be sent just like this. So we can do it through the direct mail at the post office where they deliver one to every door in the city. That's the least expensive way to get it out there. My proposal would be to put the colored map inside as well, so that everyone can at least get an idea of what it really means. But our plan that we talked about was the week of March 17th to actually do the mailer with the brochure. The week of March 27th to put something very similar in the newspaper. And then the mayor had mentioned or asked the question of, do we need a postcard or something then that following week? Don't know what your thoughts are on that, but we'll also put it, once this is completed and we have the professionally done copy, we'll put it on the website, we'll put it on the public access channel, we'll put it out there on the city's Facebook page, try to get the word out as much as we can just to educate the public on what it means.
I agree with Alderman Ock. It's somewhere, our headline needs to be a no tax increase bond. I'm not sure how you manipulate that in there, but I think that's important to the public too. And the other thing, this is strictly informational material. We can't promote nay or yay against on one side or the other.
I think maybe we insert that line, just where Gary said, under the 15.5, maybe even do it in color.
Yeah.
A different color, so
Make
it'll
it jump
stand
out a
out.
little bit.
Yeah.
And I think we addressed the issue, I thought I read in here in my sample where it's not an either-or situation. We're going to have to do this project
Right.
regardless. This is just going to be the cheapest way to finance it is to do the bond issue.
How do
Otherwise,
you pay for it is really the question.
is the issue, yep. We're going to pay for it one way or another.
Are we going to photocopy these ourselves, or are we going to have these printed at a printer?
We have found that at Kinko's is the cheapest place. We've done some price comparisons. And to take them to Kinko's and get them done in color is cheaper than we can print them ourselves or get them done locally.
And what I was wondering is, sometimes those, I'm not sure if Kinko's offers it, but sometimes a printer is also a very valuable tool in designing and making sure that we're drawing people's attention to what we want to express.
Well, my plan would be to send this to Joy, and Joy will actually put the brochure together for us, as she's done for others, and have it ready then to send to Kinko's to get done. She hasn't really seen this yet. I wanted you all to see it and look at the language and those sorts of things
It looks
before.
kind of wordy, to be honest with
Yes.
you. I mean, if a person wanted to just quickly glance through it, it looks a little wordy for my limited reading ability. But, you know what I mean, it just,
Well, we were trying to answer
Yeah.
questions we thought the public would have when we kind of put this together.
yeah, well, I understand.
But I don't know where you stop, you know, there's so many bases you need to cover, and if you're not careful, it gets too long. I might mention about Joy Howard, too. I was impressed with her when we met with her. I think she has some great expertise that she brings to the table, and I think that's money well spent using her expertise.
I mean, because just for example, if you look in the section on bond financing, I mean, you could take out a huge sentence in the third sentence without really losing anything. Because I think most people know that law requires the vote. That's, you know, but the point here is that we have to do this. I mean, the sentence that says, the question is not whether to implement the project, but how best to finance it. You know, so to me, that's just would make it less wordy. You could put bigger print, would be easier to read for people who might have vision issues. So those are, I mean,
I think when Joy discussed putting a statement like this in here, if I remember correctly, her point was, if you don't mention that you're looking at SRF, you're going to get criticism for not looking at that program. And maybe that's happened in other communities or whatever, I don't know,
but I would be hard to believe that the average voter knows about that.
Right.
They know that it's a bond issue, they have to vote on it, it's going to be paid for. I mean, it's just thoughts. I mean, I'm sure everybody else has different thoughts.
That's why we're looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a problem to take that out. I mean, I really don't see what that would, the message is there
Right.
without that. Anything else?
Terry, as far as sending out a postcard later, do we have any idea of the approximate cost it would cost to send out postcards?
This mailer will end up being probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 by the time we get it printed and get it mailed. My guess is a postcard is going to be very nearly in that same vicinity.
No matter what, I think it's a good idea to send out the second notice, because people might look at this and lay it up somewhere and forget about it.
So they don't forget.
Yeah, we need this thing bad, so
Sure.
I'm sure, I think it'd be a good idea to mail a postcard later.
Okay. Anybody else, any changes that you would do to the brochure? Gary gave us a couple of suggestions. That's why it's here in front of you tonight. If you see something, we need to address it. And
Again, in an attempt to get the printing bigger, you know, the question of what if the improvement is not made, I think it's sufficient to say will result in progressively larger areas affected by backup and spillovers. I don't know that the voter is concerned about penalties. Some voters, if they don't like the city, they may fine, let the city pay a penalty. But, you know, what you want to emphasize is that it's going to impact people's property with sewer backups. So I don't see that last portion as being necessarily compelling for a voter.
maybe put that in bolder print or something there,
Yeah, I don't know.
or underline it.
Or take out the last part?
That would be my, I mean, I hate to be sitting here making all these comments, but
you all see if there's anything else. I mean, it's hard to look at it and really review it sitting here. I'm gonna wait a couple days before I send anything over to Joy, because we've got a little bit of time here. So if any of you have any other suggestions or things that you think we need to take a look at or add or change, well, send me an email and we'll get all the changes made before we send it over to her for the final.
Okay. How about operational updates?
You stole my thunder on the fire department thing, so that was all I had under that.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all I have.
That's all you have? Any board members have anything for Terry? Okay, we're calling Michelle Slinther to the stage, Economic Development Specialist.
Good evening. First thing, only thing I have for you tonight is the economic development update.
The business that opened up Saturday.
Pledge Defense, he had, even though we had some snow, he had a decent turnout and had his grand opening. And he was there from 10 to 4 for his grand opening. Alderman Cornell and Alderman Flake showed up, and myself, and he had several vendors that were there, customers and family members. So he had a nice turnout, and was very excited.
I saw him later on that evening at another event, and he said that they had 250 people or so through the door that day, so that's good.
Good day. Good.
I brought this up before, and I'm kind of curious if, Michelle, do you think it's something we need to work on? I've had a lot of people ask me what's going on at the old Hardee's, Taco Bell, whatever the one was that shut down.
Hardee's.
Taco Bell. Yeah, Hardee's. And my understanding is it's not going to be a retail store, it's simply going to be a service store like Tile Max, which takes another piece of tax, real estate or sales tax generating property out of circulation in a prime location. And I'm wondering if we need to sit down and have a conversation about some zoning changes so we can preserve those properties that are highway visible, that have, you know, the ability to generate sales tax, as opposed to service-oriented businesses that don't really generate sales tax revenue. Because it seems like if you start giving up some of your prime sales tax area, that you might have issues coming down the road. And I wonder if we need to take a serious look at that from a zoning perspective. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
That would be nice. I mean, if right now we don't have a lot of industrial either. The industrial that we do have is off of AA, or we have down Water Street, so they have to go to Truesdale to get that. So I think with the comprehensive plan that we're doing, we will be doing some looking at rezoning, because I know that is something that Terry and I have discussed as well.
That issue, I mean, the use of that just went through planning and zoning.
Right, I understand that.
Last week, so.
I understand that.
I'm sure the owner of the building is happy to have somebody in there rather than nobody.
Oh, I understand
But I
that.
understand you're looking at the bigger picture and
Yeah.
said we need to look to the future there, so.
I've had the same thought, and actually I get a lot of comments along those same lines, a concern that our future sales tax engine is losing a couple cylinders here and there, so.
We have the RFQ out for the master plan. Sometime between now and the end of the month is when those submissions are due. So I think as we sit down with whoever's chosen to do that, that needs to be one of the things that we bring to their attention. And from a planning perspective, see what their recommendations are about the way to address that and what the area would be and all those things.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it could be as simple as just changing some usages of that highway commercial to eliminate some of the service type industries and primarily focus on sales tax companies or businesses. And it might be that simple, but maybe it's not, I don't know.
Any other questions for Michelle? Michelle, what else you got for us?
That is it.
That's it? You're standing by your report? Okay. I'm ready for item 13, Gabrielle Curry, Finance Manager.
Good evening. The first item I have is the monthly report for December.
kind of halfway through the year now. Does something jump out to you that we should see or be concerned about, or do you think it's fairly well what we budgeted?
Well, the next item is the budget revisions.
Right. Well, which is always there, but I mean, you know, you made projections as to revenues, and we're kind of like a halfway benchmark. For the most part, do you feel comfortable with where the city's at revenue-wise?
Yep, I feel comfortable with that. We only made there was only one amendment to the revenue. So the rest of them were pretty in line with where we expected them to be.
I've been pleasantly surprised that the sales tax continues to be over. I keep thinking every month it's going to catch up and we're going to get back to where I really thought we were going to end up, which is not 5% over budget. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it holds out until the end of the year.
I thought that last year too, and we fared better than we anticipated, and we're doing the same thing this year, so.
Well, and really what that says to me is, with the outlet mall in the dire condition that it's in, other businesses are picking up and doing better to offset that loss of revenue. So it makes me feel positive that the other businesses are exceeding where they've been over the last couple of years, because we've not had enough new business, especially over last year, that it would create this difference in the budget. So that's positive.
It is positive.
That those other businesses are really
That's
seeing
for sure.
positive trends.
You kind of wonder if the weather is a blessing or a curse, because when the weather's terrible, people don't shop, but then when it is good, it's a zoo. So I don't know if it averages out. I guess we won't be able to tell for another month when we get the sales tax numbers in from January.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it stays at this level.
Right.
My guess is that it will as we see January, because we're going to see Christmas sales in some of that. So typically, if we were going to see a dip, we would have already seen that coming, but you never know about springtime.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Gabriella on the monthly report? Budget revision.
So for the budget revisions, there is an ordinance that you all actually vote on at the end. But this is the information that is supporting that ordinance. If you scroll through the detail page, it gives the information where those numbers are coming from, so.
How often do we have to do budget revisions? I know you have to do a final one at the end of the process, but is it required by ordinance or state that we do it periodically throughout the year?
I know we had tried to do them, last year, they were, as you all were making changes, we were doing them more frequently, but this seems more effective as far as the time.
Okay.
You know, the time it takes to put everything together for like one or two amendments. So we've kind of been holding on to those. And then, yes, we will do another amendment in June before we actually approve the next budget. We'll do another amendment then.
Was there one single major item that caused us to make this revision?
Well, when you look through here, there are a couple of things that we had discussed in board meetings, like this bond issue. We have some capital projects that did not get finished before the end of June 2013 that we need to include in here. In the executive, we had talked about the salary and health insurance for the prosecuting attorney, and then we had approved the budget with that in, but we, need to take that out since we increased his contracted amount instead of in lieu of that. The building department, we transferred the code enforcement folks from the police department, so we were just making the budget in line with that. We've recently added the youth volleyball, youth basketball, so we need to include the revenue and the expenses. And then there were some capital items in the capital sales tax fund. The different slides that we had gotten approved, and that was being paid out of contingency, but that wasn't accounted for during the budgeting process. So,
These are mostly changes that you all have already approved during the first half of the year.
Well, I mean, in some ways, it's good to see because it kind of reminds me of things that you might have not considered, so it's a good review.
I think it helps us stay on top of really where we're at.
Right.
By moving things to where they belong. And I think it helps to get the numbers updated because the department heads will agree to take money from here to put it particularly for capital, but then they forget that they've already spent that money. So it helps us to keep track of, you know, where we've moved things and know what we really have for the second half of the year.
And again, this is ordinance driven, so
Yes.
at the end of the meeting, we'll approve it.
Anything else?
my next item is the Ways and Means Committee meeting. We need to schedule the initial meeting where we discuss the payroll percentage target and the water sewer rates. I'd like to schedule that for March 4th before the board meeting. Would you all be available at 5 or 5:30 on March 4th?
Works for me. Pending traffic, right?
March 4. What time?
Between 5 or 5:30.
Which is the night of the first
How
meeting of the
long,
month.
how long you think that'll be? How long that meeting will, how much time you need on March 4th?
If we rush, we could probably do it in an hour.
Pardon me?
If we rush, we could probably do it in an hour.
So if we allowed an hour and a half,
What time are you getting
5:30 to 7, that, you think that'll work? Okay. At least, that gives us a quitting time that way. We know we have to be out and done by 7 o'clock and be out of there.
There you go.
So let's look at the 5:30 if everybody can try to make that. Any other questions for Gabrielle? Gabrielle, you got anything else for us?
Yes, at that meeting, if y'all could bring your capital requests so that we have time to put the pricing together and consider those when we're actually working on the budget for next fiscal year.
When does department heads bring in changes for pay other than, you know, city gives out a 2% or 3% or whatever the percentage is?
merit increase.
Is that in this meeting here too, or is that something that will come in later?
It will come in at the full budget review meeting
Okay.
when we have operating all put together and whatever increase that you all decide to
Okay.
kind of start with. At that point, then we'll kind of have a better idea of what funds are available. But
Okay.
it usually comes at the full-blown budget review meeting.
Okay.
Terry, when's the time for turning in the street list?
Gabrielle said you need to bring it to this March 4th meeting.
March 4th meeting,
So you
okay.
got to get out and drive around, put your list together.
Streets are covered with snow, you can't see too much
That's
right
right.
now.
Well, considering you're going off the board, just put all of your streets on.
Yeah, we won't approve the budget till after you're off, Fred, so.
That's fine. That's good with me.
Then you can holler at your alderman.
That's
whoever
right.
that
I'll
might
be
be.
sitting out there and then I'll be up here.
All right. We done with Gabrielle? Any questions? You done with us?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Dottie Phillips, you're on board.
Good evening. My first item actually is the monthly report.
Hey, Dottie, what happened to the snowball tournament? Did you have that?
The snowball tournament, the adult co-ed tournament, we did not have enough registered teams. Most of our winter programs are not getting the numbers that we need. I think a lot of it has to do with weather. I think people are just staying inside. So we will try to do another type of tournament for adults, probably in the summer or fall, depending on kind of where we can put that.
It's encouraging to see the number of 112 participants and 18 teams in the basketball league for the first year. I was a little bit nervous if we would be able to get the word out quick enough and get a good response. I consider that a good response. I don't know if that met your expectations or not.
Yes, it did. The 4th through 6th grade teams, we were a little light on the numbers there, but I think that has to do with the fact that Holy Rosary still has our league. So we've already discussed looking at starting this league a little bit later next year so that we can pick up some of those kids.
We're about 3 weeks away from being able to end and start in that. And,
yeah.
How do we promote the tournaments, the tournament rentals, your third line down, deposits received? How do we promote that? I'm just kind of curious how that works.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Well, how do we promote tournaments? I assume the tournaments you're talking about May, June, or softball, baseball tournaments? Is that what you're referring to here?
Yes, those tournaments, those are rental tournaments, so that's actually a company that comes in and they rent our fields and they run their own tournaments.
Oh, okay.
As far as how do we market the facility for that purpose, we are in the process right now of creating a trifold marketing brochure that we'll be sending out to anywhere we can think of. It's on our website, and then I have made some, in the last year, tried really hard to make some contacts through USSSA and ASA and the Senior Softball Association, different things like that. A lot of times that's just word of mouth and making sure you get the information into the hands of the right people.
Because it must be quite a lucrative market, because my understanding is the developer of the outlet center by the bridge on 4061 is using some of his acreage to put in huge ball fields and really promote tournaments big time. You think that's kind of strange because you already got all those fields on the other side of the highway, but the revenue projections that they're doing for that are just phenomenal. So I guess it's quite the business if you can figure out how to get people to come to your area.
Yeah, I think definitely the youth sports business right now is pretty big because, you know, people are all very interested in getting their kids involved in select travel teams. You know, they see those turning into the possibility for future scholarships, things like that. So it's much more competitive than it was 20 years ago. As far as our complex in particular, I've really been trying to stress that we're conveniently located, you know, off of 70, halfway between Columbia and St. Louis, things like that. Still trying to overcome that thought that Warrenton is way out here. So I think we're making some strides there. I think the people who, this game time tournaments who scheduled these tournaments, they had people coming. I mean, they actually had a team from Iowa, several teams from Illinois. So we're starting to get some exposure that I think could, you know, lead to other things in the future. We also have the possibility of some USSSA tournaments, not on the youth side, but on the adult side, kind of working that angle. So.
On the Wine and Roses dinner dance, no interest in that?
We had no interest in that. I think that in order to, I think we're going to struggle with getting the seniors to participate in some of these programs because we don't have a really good connection with them. So one of the things that as a department we've been working on is identifying some of the different things they're doing at the senior center and trying to figure out how we can sort of insert ourselves into the program they have existing, so we can build some camaraderie with them, and then maybe pull them over to our programs. But on the other hand, that's just a very particular group, so we need to figure out how we can branch out into probably the younger, what we would consider seniors, but the younger seniors, trying to figure out how to make some connections with them, so.
Are you working with any of the churches?
We have been sending all of our information to the churches and asking them to get the information, whether it be in their bulletins or handing, the flyers out or posting them on their boards. So we have been doing some things like that.
I know at the Methodist Church, the secretary gets everything out. She gets community-wide, so she is sending out your stuff too.
Good. Good.
How about item 14B?
The geocaching policy that you have in front of you, since the last scheduled meeting, we actually received some feedback from an individual in the community who is interested in doing some geocaching. So we have the recommendation is actually to approve the policy with the changes that I'm going to explain to you. And the first one is under the purpose. We would like to change the wording to say the purpose of the policy is to successfully manage geocaching on all city property rather than just city parks and recreation facilities.
I've got to ask, what is geocaching?
Geocaching, it basically, it's been around for a while, but kind of became a big thing about probably 6 or 7 years ago. And what it is, geocaching.com is a website that relies on GPS coordinates. And basically, you go to this website, you enter in, say 63383, hit enter, and there will be a map that comes up that will tell you there's geocaches in a certain location. The geocache itself is like a hidden box or treasure. It's almost like treasure hunting. It's like a hidden box somewhere. You have to use your GPS unit to then go out and find it. There's little clues that lead you to where the box is hidden. Basically, the way I like to look at it, I actually did this for a while, several years ago. It's a way to make walking or hiking or whatever a little more interesting. A lot of the state parks have a lot of geocaches in them. And we do have some interest in, I've had more than one person contact me about this.
They're everywhere.
Learn something new every day.
They are everywhere. The second item that was commented on through feedback was the individual wanted to see if we would reconsider limiting where we would put the caches to not include in trees. They asked if we were just talking about like up high in a tree, so we were preventing people from climbing trees. Actually, we would like to leave this worded as it is. We want to make sure that people do not try to stick the cache inside a hollow tree or create a hole in the tree to put the cache in. So we do want to leave that one as stated. The fourth bullet from the bottom, this individual suggested that we change this to be any geocaching website rather than just geocaching.com. Evidently there are additional sites out there that I was not aware of. So we would like to change that to say as it appears on any geocaching website.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the geocaching policy per Dottie's changes as stated.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Cornell to approve the geocaching policy for the Recreation Director's changes.
I do have one more question. Why doesn't the policy contain anything that puts a responsibility on the person leaving the cache to remove it after a certain time period? So if I put a cache down somewhere and no one ever finds it, and so it's sitting there for an extended period of time, then the city's responsibility would be to find it, or it just sits?
Actually, you typically do not remove them. They can be disabled on the website, but typically you don't remove them. If you put the treasure out there, more than one person is going to go find it.
Okay.
And so basically, an example of how it works, we had some in my former city, and we had little coins that said, I found the cash. And they were just little wooden coins. So somebody would go, they would find it, they would take the coin out, and they would put something else in it. So there was a constant flow of items going in and out of the cash box.
There's usually a log of who was there.
Correct. There's a log then where people log in that shows, 100 people have been there and where they're from. And actually,
Most of them are fairly small.
Retired.
yeah,
About the size of like at the bank where you put the things in to go up and down, those little tubes.
Or even smaller.
They're about that small as a rule. And they're usually fairly well marked, so I don't understand why they're hidden in the tree and stuff, because normally it's, the ones I've done anyhow, are the one, they'd be marked more like you would do a compass course, where you go out and follow a course to find a so-called treasure.
Okay, got a motion on the floor to approve the geocaching policy. Any other discussion or changes or anything? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried 6-0. Item 14C, concession bids.
Yep, the concessions bid was sent out to, we sent it directly to 8 different vendors. We also posted it in the newspaper. We only had 2 replies. We had a third company that replied, but it was after the deadline, so that bid was not opened. My recommendation is that we award the bid to Cisco from St. Louis. These prices are comparable to the provider that we used last year. And actually, in many items, specifically the soda or the beverage items, they're actually cheaper than what we had last year.
Is this concessions at ball fields, concessions at the swimming pool, where?
Citywide.
Citywide, okay.
How did we fare last year? Did we break even?
No, we did not. I don't remember what the number
I
was.
guess my concern is it looks like you have an awful lot of different items. Is that, it looks like there are so many items to choose from. That seems to be a problem. If we're not making money, it'd be my suggestion to cut your menu down to a more.
Actually, we really don't have that extensive of a menu. A lot of these things.
I argue that. Right now, I see quite a few things.
Well, not really, though. I mean, you gotta have cheese sauce to go with your nachos.
I can still argue that.
You can. Feel free to argue, but the substantial menu is not really a substantial menu. It's just the items that go along with it. I mean, if you're gonna have nachos, you're gonna have jalapeno.
Well, I'll go with that, but.
Basically, we have nachos, hot dogs, pretzels. Those are the 3 kind of big things. Occasionally for tournaments, when we have full-day tournaments, we add hamburgers. We've got chips. We've got a couple of different options for candy. It's really...
So is your bid here, are you recommending going with like 3 different vendors?
No, sir. My recommendation is to go with Cisco St. Louis
For it all?
For food and beverage.
And what is the total amount?
Well, there is no real definite amount
Right.
because it depends on the amount of products that we purchase.
Okay.
When you say you don't make money on it, I'm assuming you're saying because of staffing costs, you don't make money. You certainly sell it for more than what you buy the product for, obviously.
Yes.
And you'd lose money only if there was waste or loss or theft or anything else.
That's
So-
correct.
Yeah, so you are selling it for more than what they're asking.
Yes, and we've
Okay.
actually, when we provided to you, it's been a couple of meetings ago, the concessions report and then suggestions for next year. There were several different things that we put in there to try to eliminate some of the as much of the cost as what we could over, the break even. So we do have some things in place. It was the first year we did concessions last year. I was disappointed, didn't do nearly as well as what I hoped that we would do. But there were a lot of good things. We learned a lot. We have a little bit better idea of what our community wants and expects out of that type of service. So I think this year we will do better.
You make a motion, we accept the bid of Cisco for the concessions for this year.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Cornell to approve the Cisco St. Louis concession bid. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Basketball board adapters bid.
You say.
These backboard adapters were approved when we recommended the addition of the basketball program. This is now just the actual bids where we went out. My recommendation is to purchase the baskets from J-Pro Sports, which was the low bidder of $1,660.
Are these installed at this price, or are they?
No, we don't, they don't get installed. You basically put them on and then take them back off. They attach to the baskets that are existing,
Okay.
drops them down, well, it depends on the league, and then out 2 feet closer to the line.
Make a motion that we approve the purchase of the adjustable backboard adapters from J-Pro Sports for a total amount of $1,660.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Flake to approve the low bid from J-Pro Sports in the amount of $1,660. Any other concerns? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Basketball t-shirt bid.
The next item is, all the information is listed here. Basically, the T-shirts for these leagues were not included in the annual bid that we do for shirts when we prepare them for youth baseball and soccer, because we were not certain that we were going to do this. So we were in the process of doing the annual bid for next year, or well, this year's purchase, so the 2014 baseball, softball, and then soccer. And the provider that we are currently using, which was Blue Viking out of Wentzville, they did not provide us a bid for these shirts. And according to the contract that we had with them, we had not included these numbers, so we had to get a bid from them to see what it would be. They didn't provide it. So sent the information out. Hart Sports here in Warrenton was the low bidder, and it's my recommendation that we purchase the shirts from Hart Sports.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to take the low bid from Hart Sports in Warrenton in the amount of $720. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
I also wanted to mention about the youth basketball. We are in the process now, as mentioned earlier, we had actually our number is closer to 125 now for the youth basketball. With any new program, we've definitely, had some bumps along the way, but we're trying to work all of those things out. Adding to the bumps that you would normally have is when you have two different entities trying to partner to offer that type of program. So we are working very hard to try to get the basketball program up and going and make it successful. So just wanted to let you guys know that. If you hear any feedback, please let us know, and we will try to handle any issues that are occurring.
Thank you.
The next item I have is approval of donations to the Play Scholarship Fund policy. This has been reviewed by Terry and also by the city attorney, and also by the finance director. Basically, this is when you approved the Play Scholarship program, we talked about the next step was to approve donations to the scholarship program and how we would accept those and any sort of limitations or restrictions, requirements, whatever we would have with that. So that's what you have in front of you.
So is this an additional policy to the first policy we approved?
Yes, it is. The first policy was just
To
establishing the
participate.
program.
Mhm.
And this policy is now accepting donations to
Okay.
the scholarship fund.
How are we going to notify the community that it's time to apply? So in other words, so you can get donations, you're going into a basketball season, how does the people know that there's scholarship available?
It will be a couple of different ways. First of all, it's going to be it's already in the brochure that we're sending out twice a year. It is not uncommon for us to have people call here and ask us if there's something available
Okay.
to their children. We also will make sure that the school is aware so that they know of children who may be in a situation where they want to participate and can't because of financial reasons. So we'll do everything we can kind of to reach out to those individuals who may need the information.
Okay.
Make a motion that we accept the approval of the donation to play scholarship fund policy.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Kessley, is that Alderman Ock second?
Yes.
Second by Alderman Ock for the approval of donations to play scholarship fund policy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise. Motion carried 6-0. Tournament staff.
So the tournaments, we have two different needs for tournaments, staffing-wise. The first need is when we are going to offer tournaments in-house, which was something that was encouraged, particularly by the tourism committee. They provided some funds in their budgeting for us to do some tournaments, I think 4 this year. So when we have tournaments in-house, meaning we are totally responsible for the tournament. We're responsible for marketing it, for recruiting teams, for directing the tournament the weekend of it, and preparing the field, basically doing anything you can imagine that could be in scheduling umpires, everything. So there's that side of tournaments. The other side of tournaments is just when we have a rental tournament, so we have game time tournaments coming in, we're only providing the facility, so we offer concessions, we have to manage that, we have to make sure that the facilities are clean and that the fields are prepared and ready for them. That, currently with our staffing level, being myself and then one other full-time position, last year what was happening when we ended up with the 6 tournaments that we had, in addition to the other duties and responsibilities that we have, it was taking both of us out of the office for extended periods of time because we were, we would work, when you have these tournaments, you may have to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning and not be done until 11 o'clock at night. So it was taking one or the other, and in some cases, both of us away from the office for extended periods of time. Now, we have part-time staff, but in situations like this, we can't rely on just our part-time staff to be out there to make sure everything gets done. There has to be someone who can act kind of in a supervisory role. So in order to kind of deal with that situation, we're trying to come up with, and I've been working with Terry on trying to determine what we could do to create a situation where we'd have somebody that we could rely on solely for tournaments to meet those needs without taking Jared and I out of the office. In doing that, we looked at hiring somebody on an hourly basis, and frankly, I don't think that we can, to hire somebody on an hourly basis, to put an hourly amount on that position and to be able to pay them enough to make it worth their weekend, it would almost be unfair to some of our other employees. It was easier to come up with a number where we could contract somebody out who had the skills and the knowledge to run the tournaments on a contractual basis, because we're only talking about, maybe 6 weekends out of the year, so spring all the way to fall. We weren't talking about somebody who we were going to use on a regular basis every weekend or even every other weekend. So put the numbers together and also compared it to what some other places, let me back up, not what other places told me, but what I had found from other people who are tournament directors, what they were being paid for a weekend of tournaments. This does fit into our budget fine on both sides of it. The in-house tournaments, it was $250 per tournament day, and then on the rental tournaments, it's $175 per tournament. We basically are able to cover, we're able to cover those costs in the tournament fees or in the rental fees, either one.
So Dottie, what you're asking us to do is to do a contract employee, so we're not paying benefits, right?
Correct.
We won't have the work comp cost, the healthcare cost, any of that.
Correct.
And the counselor doesn't have any problem with this not being an employee of the city as
He
opposed to...
did not, believe it or not.
That's surprising.
So a weekend tournament, for an in-house tournament, we'd pay tournament director $500.
That's correct.
No.
No?
It's $250 for 2 days. Is it it's not $250 per day?
Yes,
$250 per day.
Per tournament,
Oh, okay.
Per
Down
tournament
below is
day.
$175.
So a 2-day tournament, he would get, or she would get $500.
Yes.
What is the rental price for these tournaments?
The rental fee for for the the full big fields, for all day, for 1 day, they pay a minimum of $750. Now that goes up depending on, that's for the basic, we're gonna put the bases down, line them. We're not gonna reset the fields. If, let's say that they're gonna play games all day and they want the field reset every, 3 games, then there's additional cost for every time we reset the field. So the minimum they would pay would be $750 per day.
And I haven't been around these things for a long time. The $250 a day sounds high to me, but I haven't hired any, or tried to hire anybody, so I don't know if that's the going rate, or is that a rate that we're gonna be able to track tournament directors at? I'm relying on you for that.
Yes, these numbers, I checked around with them. Well, it's kind of hard around here to find people who actually do this, but the ones that I did find, they're making about $250, anywhere from $200 to $300 per day as a tournament director.
And the cost of the field is $750 per day?
At a minimum.
At a minimum,
For
per
the
day.
complex.
We just got this evening. I like to think about it for a while.
Want to table it?
Table it till the next meeting. I would be in favor of that.
You make that into a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Clark, seconded by Alderman Ock to table the tournament director policy to our next meeting. Roll call on that, please.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Jarrett?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That it, Dottie?
No, I actually have one more item. We have been working with the American Legion baseball team, and they are basically requesting the use of our fields for some of their home games. I was able to, so they're requesting the use of the field for some of their home games. They want to use Field B, which is the larger field, and they would like for there to be a mound on it. Currently, there is not a mound on it. We have portable mounds that we have used. We have had some other requests for permanent mounds. Putting a permanent mound there certainly would not be detrimental to our program. We could work with the permanent mound there. it would cost about, in order to put a mound out there, it would cost about $500 in material, and then plus the labor, which I'm not sure how long it would take them to do it, but probably about $500. As I said, it would not be a detriment to our program. In fact, I think overall, I was telling Terry today, I spoke to Game Time Tournaments, and that's the tournament company that is doing a lot of their tournaments at our fields. They were actually very enthusiastic about the possibility of having a mound there because they felt that they would be able to expand it to some of the older age groups. So haven't found any real reason that we could not have a mound on that field. I went through our games from last year, our scheduled games, and plotted the possibility of moving some of our stuff around so that we could make that field available for American Legion baseball. And what I determined is we could make it available to them on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, and it would have very minimal impact on our existing program. They are looking at probably, I think they said 15 to 20 games for the season. So I think that having those 3 days available would be plenty for them to choose from. If they chose to do this, they would have to give us their schedule by the end of March so that I can then get our schedules ready for our youth leagues. The other thing is we have been trying to figure out a way. They basically didn't want to have to pay for the use of the fields, and just don't see that really as a possibility because, you know, where do we stop with that type of a situation? Not to mention that we have some direct costs associated with their use of the field. So I put that together, determined cost of lights, how much it would cost for an employee to drag the field, and then equipment usage, and came up with $20 per night, so they could potentially play 2 games on that field per night, a 6 o'clock and an 8 o'clock. $20 per night, but they would be, all we would do would be drag the field. They would have to line it and put their bases down. They would use their own lime and their own drying agents should they need it. Any drying agents that would be put on the field, any work that would be done to the field that was beyond simply putting a line on it, they would have to get approval from the supervisor who was on duty at the time. So I wanted to bring this to you guys. The normal cost to rent a field for the evening is $40 per night. That would be my maintenance person, my recreation maintenance person, doing all of the work on the field. So the fee then that I'm suggesting to them would be just the direct cost of using the field of $20 per night. Wanted to bring it to you guys, see what you thought. There is always the chance that we may have individuals who complain once we put that dirt mound out there if they feel that their kids shouldn't be playing on a dirt mound. I don't think that is going to be an issue simply because we have the option for the other fields. That's not to say that we won't get into a situation with rainouts where we may have to put some younger kids on that field with the mound. Does it present a danger? People have been playing, younger kids have been playing on fields with mounds for years. So.
A few leagues too. I have a problem with the pricing. I mean, I don't know why, I mean, you're gonna have to pay the cost of the $500 plus labor to put the mound on, so why shouldn't it be $40 a night as like everybody else is paying? Even though you don't have the employee out there, you still have to recoup the cost of the mound and all that.
Why would it cost, I mean, where are you getting the $500?
That's material.
That's what?
That's the material.
So what do you
The
need,
clay,
you need
the
a dump
bricks.
truck load of dirt?
No, it's.
You'll sell one for $500.
Yeah.
No,
That's terrible.
it's clay, there's some bricks, some different materials you use to build that mound so it doesn't collapse over time.
And where would we get that?
I'm not sure. Brad has a source. I got that number from Brad today.
City probably has some dirt piled up somewhere that we could,
Well, you can't just use any dirt on that mound. It any dirt on a baseball field is not this, the top surface of the baseball field is not just dirt like in your backyard. It's, that's,
Dottie, can you, and I have had extensive conversations with the American Legion, can you explore with them their willingness to cost share that mound? They had expressed in the past that they would be willing to either provide some of the labor or some of the material, or I spoke with Mr. Vogt this afternoon after Terry had relayed some of this information. They were very enthusiastic about the opportunity to play out there. See what their thoughts on that are.
yeah, I would be willing to discuss that with them, although I do want to say I would prefer that they are not doing the work. I would, if they want to share in the cost, I think that for them to provide us with some funds for the materials, but I think that the work should be done by our staff.
are they
according
not
to the
playing any
specifications.
games on the high school field?
They are going to be playing games. They actually need about, they actually have about 30 home games per year, so they would be moving about half of their home games. My understanding and discussions with them is their hope is that eventually they could play all of their home games at the athletic complex.
No lights at the high school.
What does the high school charge per
I
game?
guess. I don't think they do.
I don't know.
Really?
That is my understanding as well, is that currently they are not paying to play on those fields. They prepare the fields and use their own materials, and there is no charge for them.
I
have some
taxpayers
concern.
like that.
I have some concern about the permanent pitching mound. I know as a kid playing, we had some mounds like that we played on, and there was a few legs broken. So there is, you can get hurt going up and down those little mounds. If you ever played ball and try to catch a fly ball going up and down one of those mounds, it's not easy. This is only going to be for about 30 games or so, 20 games.
It would be.
Do we have other kids that will utilize that?
Yes, we can use the mound for 10U to 14U baseball, and it's actually, more of a natural. It's more
At
natural.
what age do they start pitching off mounds now? Or do
It
they?
depends on the league. They start pitching off. In most leagues, they start pitching off the mound at
Our league
9U.
that we have.
It is optional for them to pitch. If there is a mound available, they start at 9U.
At 9?
Mhm.
Awful mound.
Okay, anything else for Dottie? We're gonna think about this.
Well, we can't think too long.
They're needing to know to make their schedule.
Oh, for the American Legion? I thought we were gonna go back to them with, see how much they'd wanna participate on a,
Can we approve the use without bring in the cost of the mound? So that they know.
I think you could, but that might be I mean, if I was on their end, I'd say, no, we can't pay anything. You all approved it, so.
Well,
do it.
they'll be approved for a field
One
without a
season.
mound.
And that's if we
Without-
want a mound. I mean, I'm not for sure. I think a mound is necessary. I mean, you can put the, what they call portable or,
Portable mound.
it's not a permanent
Those are
mound.
horrible.
The portable mounds actually are. They're actually more of
Danger.
a danger.
My kid
They're
was
a tripping
playing,
hazard.
our pitcher almost broke his leg pitching on one, because you
Why is
slip
that?
and slide on, when you got cleats on, you don't get a grip on that, they slip.
And the American Legion won't allow the portable mounds? Am I right on that?
The American Legion League will not allow their pitchers to pitch off of a portable
Portable
mound,
mounds.
unless it's a full-size portable mound, and that's about $3,500.
Like a portable mound or a portable park.
So where's the board stand? What do you want to do?
I've heard about this for quite a while, not just in the last few weeks. I mean, this has been a topic of discussion for some time. This is a very important league. We talk about having, teams in our area that our competitive teams that can play against select balls, and other areas. This is a pretty important league for those kids in our community that want to play more than just a rec league. I see these people as being very involved with our community. I don't see this as somebody that's coming in from out of town asking us to do this. I think if you're going to start pitching off a mound at 9U, you said? Those kids should start playing, and we'll only hold that against them for so long.
Fine.
But, at 9U, if they're going to start learning, then maybe we should give those kids as well the facility to learn to pitch on the proper mound as well. I have no problem with this. I'd be willing to make a motion to approve the American Legion to play and to proceed with the discussion on building the mound. And I would actually add the cost of it up to $500 per year estimate, but I would prefer that we find some cost-sharing agreement between us and the American Legion if possible.
$20 per night.
And $20 a night for games.
Second that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Cornell, to approve the American Legion, the use of our field with the cost ceiling of $500 on building the mound.
Yes.
Any questions or concerns? I might ask Dottie this question. Our American Legion team here in Warrenton, where did all those players come from? How many different counties and cities away?
For our American Legion team in particular, I'm really not sure. I believe that the American Legion teams are restricted to kids within, I'm really not sure.
Within that post, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the post location. But what I can tell you is that the American Legion League, these teams who come to play them will be from all over the state. Now, I don't know which ones they're going to have at our facility, but in my former community, we had a Legion team, and we had teams from, all over the state who came to play against that team. So that is another benefit to having them out there, is now we're getting, again, some additional exposure to our facility.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
No.
Alderman Clark?
No.
Motion carried 4-2. Thank you, Dottie. Item 15, Chief Howdeshell.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. The first thing I have this evening is a request for approval to transfer Nancy Ketz from part-time to full-time records clerk. Nancy has been with the department as a part-time employee for 3 years now, and this is the position that was vacated by Candy when she was promoted to administrative assistant. The city, or Brandy, I guess, posted the opening in the city, and the only application that we got was Nancy. Interestingly enough, though, we went ahead and re-interviewed Nancy and took out her old questionnaire just to compare to see where she was and where she ended up. And she matured a great deal, but one of the greatest things that I saw there was, looking back 3 years ago, her goal was to go full-time within the city, within that job. So, she's meeting her goals and setting new ones. So, with your approval, we will move her over. There's no pay increase, it's just hours benefits.
Full-time.
Is your intent to replace the part-time clerk?
Yes.
Make a motion. Do you need a motion on that?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the transfer of Nancy Ketz to a full-time position.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Cornell, seconded by Alderman Kessley, to approve Nancy Kurtz from part-time to full-time records clerk. Roll call, please.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you very much. The last thing that I have is a request for approval for the mayor to sign an IT agreement from AQM Computer Help. This is in an effort to remove most of the IT hat from my position. It's a bit overwhelming at times and is well overdue. AQM comes to me highly recommended by the ambulance district and also Warren County Joint Communications. The other thing that kind of sets them apart from some of the other computer companies, computer help companies, is the fact that they are actually going to send a body up here twice a month. A lot of the other companies now are doing it remotely. They remote in, take a look, everything looks okay. I'm of the personal opinion that you get a better feel for what's going on if you're on site. So their cost is well in line with others, actually a little bit lower. This is a budgeted item, as I recall. It's budgeted around $8,500 for this fiscal year.
What is your intent on the website of it? Because that seems to be something that, if you have a good website that people go to, it requires constant update, constant changing. It's fresh, it's information, it's not stale. They're not doing this as part of this proposal, so what is the intent on the website?
That's actually a separately budgeted item.
Okay.
And I'm not too sure if these are the right people to do it, but in talking with Ted, who's the president of this company, a very intelligent guy, I feel confident that he will point us in the right direction. Okay. So, I think he's going to be a huge help to us to get us over the hurdle on some of these IT issues that we have.
Okay, and what is the time frame for the website piece, if it's a separate budget item?
Yeah, well, we're going to have that done by the end of this fiscal year. Okay. That will absolutely get done.
And this is for $14.23 one time and then $6.44 per month?
Correct.
My only, and I trust your judgment on wanting somebody to come here as opposed to remotely. I've got a problem with approving that with no bids. If that's what we want, the service that we want, I would rather us prepare a bid spec and put it out for bid. And if AQM is the best or cheapest, we can consider that, but I have a hard time considering when there isn't any bids.
Is it something by statute that has to be bid?
No. And I understand the need to bid, but for something that is this type of service, in the past with computer issues, before we had Greg, we've kind of gone with low bidder, and that always ended up not in a good situation.
And I understand, and certainly the point can be made if the bids come back, the point can be made of not going with the low bidder. We don't have any bids here. I know that there are several others that perform this task. The county just hired one other than AQM, and they had multiple bids. You're talking about $650 per month times 12, that's $8,500 plus $1,500. You're talking about $10,000. I just don't think that it's prudent to expend that kind of money without seeing what competitive bids are.
What was the result of the county? Did they get somebody more expensive, less expensive? Somebody who works in the area?
It's a company out of Jefferson City, certainly a reputable company. I don't know what their bids were. I don't know if they took the low bid. I know that they received bids.
How big of a bid project was it? I mean, if you're looking to do massive changes and you're looking at a $250,000 project for IT, that's a little different than this. I mean, can you have a scope size?
I don't. I'm saying, to me, $10,000 is worth getting a bid. Whether it's computers or whether it's cleaning the facility.
Well, I'm going to make a motion to get it on the floor, that we would approve the recommendation of the police chief. We'll see if it gets a second. Second.
We have a motion on the floor for Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Clark, to approve the IT agreement on AQM. Is that the name of the company?
Yes.
In the amount of $1,423.10 with a monthly payment of $644.08. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cornell?
No.
Alderperson Casterly?
Dang, I wish you had started earlier, because I was just reading here that there's emergency hours in here as well.
Well, yeah, they have a pretty good response plan, 24 hours on workstation issues and 4 hours on server issues.
And the reason I made the motion is because there's a company used by other agencies in the area, so they're here, they're in town, as opposed to a company that would be the only one coming in.
I'm going to say no, because I really would like to know who else is doing what.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Motion carried 4-2. What else, Chief?
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. I'm ready for item 16, bills to ordinances. First bill's number 11-14.
Introduce Bill 11-14 for the first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for first reading of bill number 11-14.
An ordinance accepting land as road and utility easements, which is known as Moccasin Drive by the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 11-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for second reading and passage of bill number 11-14.
An ordinance accepting land as road and utility easements, which is known as Moccasin Drive by the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Bill number 12-14.
Introduce Bill number 12-14 for first reading.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for first reading of bill number 12-14.
An ordinance to authorize the mayor to sign a real estate purchase agreement between the city of Warrenton, Missouri and the Industrial Development Authority.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 12-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Clark for second and final reading and passage of bill number 12-14.
An ordinance to authorize the mayor to sign a real estate purchase agreement between the city of Warrenton, Missouri and the Industrial Development Authority.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Bill number 13-14.
Call for the first reading of bill number 13-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Clark, seconded by Alderman Ock for first reading of bill number 13-14.
An ordinance to authorize the mayor to sign an assumption agreement with release between the city of Warrenton, Missouri and the Missouri Bank.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 13-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for second and final reading and passage of bill number 13-14.
An ordinance to authorize the mayor to sign an assumption agreement with release between the city of Warrenton, Missouri and the Missouri Bank.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. First reading, bill number 14-14.
Call for first reading of bill number 14-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Dreyer, seconded by Alderman Ock for first reading of bill number 14-14.
An ordinance amending the budget of the city of Warrenton, Missouri for fiscal year 2013 to 2014.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 14-14.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Clark for second reading of bill, second reading of bill 14-14, final and passage. Roll call, please.
An ordinance amending the budget of the City of Warrenton, Missouri for fiscal year 2013-2014.
Now I'll have a roll call.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
I'm trying to get this over.
I know.
Killing me here.
And before we get an adjournment, I would like to go back, if I could please, to this IT agreement. And I'm going to first apologize, Greg, for not being prepared to talk about this. I did not get into this document like I should have. My one statement here is I want to make sure that with this organization, that we make sure we get the proper proof of insurance and the liability, make sure we're covered from a cyber liability exposure when you're bringing somebody else into our facility and dealing with our computers.
Thank you, that's a great point, I appreciate that.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, second by Alderman Cornell to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. We're adjourned.